next for real. Baby, I'm so crazy, that's my best for real. They let me out this bitch for true, for real. Put my things first, then else is secondary. This stuff is so much, I put them on my commissary. I miss your head, I miss the good for real. I ain't the last time I said a feel for real. For real. When I get home, tell you what I said for real. Can't wait to get back in the club for real. Smoking the stuff you was feeling my cup for real. Can't wait to say we made it right for real. I'm trying to make it straight again for real. So strong up like we outside for real. I'm in my cell like no more locked doors for real.
Okay, good morning to you all. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. This week has been flying. I just can't keep up with the days anymore. When you're not at work, this is what happens. Your mind just like, oh my God, your days just go quicker. You're doing more things at home for yourself and you relaxing and you at ease. But I know eventually sooner or later I have to get back in the field, which I'm not really anxious about. With all the craziness going on in people's head today, you don't want to be nowhere around people. You just want to be by yourself. Just don't want to be bothered. But anyway, you got to help somebody though, because a lot of times people just don't understand. They just acting on feelings for that moment. Let's go into our Father's prayer before I get into the conversation as usual. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day, Lord, our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who have trespassed against us. Lead us not into temptation, but Lord, deliver us from evil. For thou you are the kingdom, the power, and also all the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now, yesterday I did a video. I guess it didn't get around to much people because it was slowed down because of my copyright against the music and everything. So that's what happens. Whenever I play music in my videos, there's always I get hit with a copyright. Okay, so I just want y'all to know that I just put on a little spin of R. Kelly's song "Depends," and I appreciate his music always. And just because this platform was inspired by R. Kelly, for me to have this platform, I always would like to at least play at least one or two of his songs before I get into a conversation or whatever. Whenever I'm playing music, just put it that way, because not every time I'm playing music when I'm on here, because I want to get my message out clear to people and they don't be distracted by the music, the message that I'm trying to bring, because sometimes people are just listening to the music and they're not listening to the message of the music. And behind every song there is a story being told. Now this song that just played, which is Depends, it was R. Kelly put a spin on it. He put the remix on a Chris Brown song. Knowing that Chris Brown has a lot of people that do listen to a lot of things that he do, so I guess he had to pick somebody that was a prominent artist right now in demand, the order for him to get his songs to his fans. And I thought that was a work of done by a genius. God is so good. God is great. When God got an anointing on you, there's nothing can stop you from, being heard or being seen or even finding a way to get justice. And that's the beauty about knowing the Lord. You don't just do things on feelings all the time. Sometimes you got to do things strategically. And also, you got to move in silence. Because with around a lot of noise, you can't really hear anything. You can't know who's telling the truth and who's telling a lie. You can't even you can't you get emotional. So the order for you to actually just get it done, you just want to get it done and just like, let's just do it this way. Let's just lock him up or her up and just throw away the key because the people already said this is what they want. Sometimes you got to drown out the noise and give the people truly what they actually do need. And the title that I'm talking about today is on those things about how people are wondering why isn't Black America taking any part in this fight with us against ICE? Shouldn't they be on the front line of this fight because it mostly affects Black Americans, because Black Americans are always being targeted and attacked in their communities? They the ones who got mostly all the foreigners that live in their neighborhood because that's where the government dropped them off at. And they the ones who got to live around the criminals and the drugs and all that other stuff that's going on. Don't worry, Black America is fighting, but we not fighting out there on the street. We are letting our voices be heard about what is going on around us without being in the way with ICE to unalive us. We are playing it smart. We're not going to repeat history. We correct it. Listen to what I'm saying. We don't repeat history from what our ancestors already went through at that time that they went through what they went through because that was a demand. It was a need. And they had to use most of their spiritual power and strength to get us through. They had no weapons to fight with. They had no military, and the only military that they did have was the Black Panthers, and they weren't. A lot of them weren't brave enough to do some of the things that some of the Black Panthers were able to do. See, some people want to be a part of something just so that they can just say that they are a part of it. But then there are some people who are invested in it and they are very much committed to it, and they will put themselves as a body shield to protect and defend their loved ones wholeheartedly. And then you have those people who get in it just so that they can just be there and say that they are whatever. They were there. Their names were there. They was a part of it, and blase blase. But once that leader goes to the grave or dies, they not still carrying the fight. They still not carrying the fight. They just they actually just continue to just reap the benefits of whatever happened to their leaders. On the sake of their leaders dying for them, in honor of their life, you said you were there. You said you was a part of this fight. Why aren't you continuing the fight to go on, even in their death? Why you just dropped the ball and just went for just, hey, the so-called benefits that you got from it, how you were able to gain your place and position in politics, how you were able to, get your pocket lined up and then be a gatekeeper to the Black community, or just to use the name off of the people who died to make you look good, but you're not really carrying the fight that they actually started to get their people to get ahead. You know, when Moses had to go in his grave and his time was up and he was getting too old to carry the people through the promised land or whatever, he passed everything on to Joshua. And one of the people that was a part of the fight with Joshua was Caleb. Caleb was becoming old, but he could not get out there and fight like he used to, but he still stayed committed and faithful to get the people to win the battle. That's why I say you cannot drop the ball. Now, black people, black America, we are still in the fight, but we are not in it the way you want us to be in it. That you can get us out into the streets and you have a reason to unalive us and write a lie and say that, oh, they were out impeding officers or violent criminal, and then try to, come up with a story about, oh, this person was a thief, and then try to put on they vow that when they died that they were a violent person, they committed other crimes, abusive, drugs, violence, whatever. That's what you're going to get if you get out there in the streets. They're not going to speak nothing good about your life when they unalive you. Okay? They have to justify their reasons for unaliving you. Just like they did to our leaders that were those freedom fighters for us. Every last one of them went down. Ain't nothing went clean on their record. From whatever these demonic spirits do from in places that are in higher places, when they unalive you, you ain't died by natural cause or accidental death or whatever, they are not going to write your story in a good way for people to remember you. They're going to always try to throw something in there to justify their reasons for killing you. And this is what Black America, this is what we know as facts. As many of us that died for the good reason, for the reason we had to lay our life down for. Some of us just died senseless. Some of us just died because we were black and we were, in the wrong place, probably at the wrong time. And we ran into the wrong police officer that just wasn't feeling blackness today. Okay? So you got to be very careful about what you choose to fight for when you do stand in your fight. And your fight doesn't necessarily have to be loud in the street, bringing unrest, disturbing other people's peace of mind, making other people annoyed with you making noise, people driving by and they have to be, messed up in traffic because of you in the street doing whatever you doing, lawlessness and disturbing rest, okay? Bringing all this unrest. See, when Black America was out there during the 60s, during civil rights, when they had to hit the pavement, they had to get the dogs on them, they had to get water holes on them, they had to get beat upside the head with bully clubs, even guns up to their head to threaten to blow their damn head off. There is footage out there, lots of it. I can't even look at some of the videos or the documents that they show on some of the things that happened to black people, American lives during the civil rights era. Not everybody, like I said in my previous video, could got out in the street and march like Martin. That was a divine calling. I got to keep reminding people. There was a power in him that he believed in and he trusted and that he was dedicated to it wholeheartedly and not half stepping. And sometimes he didn't want to do it, but he had to do God's will. And the same thing that happened with Jesus Christ. When Jesus had to go to that cross, it wasn't an easy thing for Jesus to do. Jesus struggled so hard with that. If you read the Bible, you will know that Jesus sweat. He did all kind of sweating and everything coming down his head because he had to go to that fight and do what he had to do in God's time, on God's time, and on God's will. Not everybody's called to the fight. Many are called, but very few are chosen. These men, Dr. King, Malcolm X, P. Huey, Huey P. Newton, all these three men were called in these movements to lead in this fight during that time. And they had a divine, and the one who had the most closest divine calling was Dr. King, because he's the one who had to go in the crowd and be the one to get beaten with billy clubs before his untimely death. He took most of the beatings more than any of them. Martin, yes, he got killed on that day in Tennessee when he went there to help fight for those garbage workers, those sanitation jobs, those people that were killed in that sanitation truck, and the family received no kind of help. The family received no insurance for the lives of their loved ones. So he had to go out there. It was just so much injustice going on in the time in the 60s that was being done to the lives of black people in America. Even after they set them free, but they had to still fight to stay free. They still had to fight to stay free, to fight to stay alive, to survive. And there's a lot of things that were promised after they were freed as slaves that they did not receive. You could go back and look at some of these. Oh, that's why I say when you talk about the 60s and when you talk about what these people went through during the time of civil rights, you won't be talking so loosely the way you talking today. You wouldn't even be sitting there having anything horrible to say about neither one of them. As a black American, you should be grateful for what they have done for you, whether you saw it was good or bad. But still in all, you still been able to have the opportunities that you have today. If it wasn't for them who got up to do something about it and who protest and who laid their life down for you to have that job, to be able to go to the school of your choice, and also for you to be able to sit and eat in places, in cafeterias and dining areas or whatever, without being discriminated against. You sit there, if you get thirsty, you out on the mall or whatever, you don't have to worry about looking for a sign that says black or white fountain, or the black fountain that is there but it's not working, or somebody pours some shit in there to be nasty and disgusting, like a lot of those black people that they used to make them have to drink from a fountain. Sometimes these people would defecate in the fountain that they would have to drink in, pee in the fountain that they had to drink in. These people did some horrible things to black people. Even when they was in segregation, they still made the black people drink from dirty, nasty, filthy, dirty, stinking water fountains while they fountains stay clean. Even when the black people would stop for to get pay for gas at a gas station, stop for the, repair their car or whatever, they couldn't use the bathrooms. They had to go in the back in an outhouse somewhere, and sometimes it was in a real far away from where the gas station was. So you're gonna sit up here and tell me anybody got anything horrible to say about these people that died and put their life out on their line for black America, join the civil rights movement, join Jim Crow, join any time of the black experience in America from the beginning of the foundation. And if you got something horrible to say about them, you know, you just the evil devil, just a no good for nothing person. That's the way I will think of you. Whether I agreed with the way they did it or the way they had to do it or not, I wasn't there. But they had to do what they had to do so that I can have this opportunity today. And that's what I get sick of, these so-called platforms, the conservative black platforms that will sit around and revisit history and try to put a dagger on it, like try to find some kind of insult to the injury, to what happened in that time. They didn't live through that time. So they don't know what they could have been doing. Okay. Like I said, God had a calling for everybody that was black. What you can do. Either you're going to get out there and march, or either you're going to pick up a rifle and fight, or either you're going to be out there, you're going to do something. During that time of that era, there was so much going on that there was no way no black person could ignore that this didn't have anything to do with them. That's why some of them were out there with Martin, some of them was with Malcolm, and some was running with Huey. Because those three places was the places where God was allowed those people that wanted to take part in this fight. You could join Martin, Malcolm, or Huey. You had either those three choices, not just to sit around and do nothing like they say today. Oh, I'm just going to take the couch. No, you cannot take the couch. You're going to have to put your work into doing something that God has given you. God has given everybody a gift, a talent to use for when that time is needed. Whether you want to be the voice for the people, or whether you want to stand in the middle and make sure that you work on both sides of things and see both fairly, or you can just get your butt down there in the battlefield, in the streets. There should be no way that you should be sitting around and not putting yourself to work and do nothing. Because then you feel your life is worth nothing. When it comes to black America, why are we not out there now? Because we don't have a need to be out there in the street. We already know ICE agents are out there. We already know they sort of like at a level of police officers. And we already know that some of them don't have a child problem with taking out a black life. We already know that. So why would we put ourselves under the knife? This ain't got nothing to do with us. We not immigrants. We are Americans. Foundational black Americans. Why would we be out there fighting and putting our bodies in harm's way for illegal immigrants and also criminals? That's not our fight. We don't fight for criminals and we don't fight for nothing illegal. Everything we fight for has to do with the law. That's when the law is not being fair with the law. That's the only time we step to it. Illegal immigration and criminals that come into break into our country is not our problem. That's not our fight. If anything, we don't want them here because they, guess what? They have to live in our communities and terrorize us. They have to come in and drive down the wages for black people and wipe us out of our jobs. And they also have to come in and they have housing. And guess what? Some black families that are here and who's been here from generation to generation are not allowed to get that housing because some immigrant is occupying those apartments or houses and they're not available to you. So you're going to give up what your ancestors fought for you to have as a citizen of the United States of America to some immigrant that don't have no roots here, that don't give a damn about country, just want to come here and freeload. Instead of trying to make the conditions better where they came from, they rather come here and take your spot and take over your job and get all your benefits instead of going to their own country and fighting for their own benefits over there. And then don't want to respect you. There's no way a smart, foundational black American or a person who has wisdom or wise and know their culture, know their future, know about their past, their history of their past, not to repeat it. You don't fight harder. You fight smarter. And we're not going to get out there in the street and lose our lives over some immigrant who don't have no business being here in the first place. Or somebody coming to the United States of America and putting crime and breaking the law. We're not doing that. We fight smarter, not harder. And we're not going to go out there and get our heads blown off and be unalive because some people out there just being reckless with ICE agents. And I just might be the one to get in the way of that ICE agent and have my life taken on the cause of some idiot out there throwing ice water bottles and kicking out headlights and screaming and spitting at ICE agents or taking their cars and blocking ICE agents, in the streets and stuff like that. You think I want to be a part of that? You think I want to die for something like that? Recklessness, and then get on the news with all these stupid people, these liberal minded people. Oh, he shouldn't have did it. He shouldn't have been out there. He shouldn't have been antagonizing ICE agents. He shouldn't have been kicking out headlights and spitting at them and cussing at them or any way near them if he was such a good person. You would have stayed out of harm's way. Now, if he was a passenger just passing through and ICE agents attacked him and did something to him, oh yeah, that was murder. That was wrong. But when you attacking them and they just going about their day and you spitting and kicking out headlights and everything, I didn't see that video. Now that they showed that video, I'm like, he's just as dumb as Dan Renee was. Bad behavior is going to end with bad results. Point line, period. Don't sugarcoat nothing. Tell the whole truth. Don't half tell no truth. That's what the Democrat Party does. And black people are not falling for it. Okay, we had enough of the Democrat Party using us as they body shields when they want to fight against the like we owe them something. We don't owe them nothing. Our heart belongs to God. Everything we did, we fought for in the righteousness fight for the Lord, for righteousness. We don't fight for foolishness. Something that could have been avoided if your leaders that sit in that government in Minnesota and your mayor would have had some kind of way to work with the ICE agents so that this kind of nonsense would not go on out in the streets of Minnesota. This is why black people are not putting their life in the streets like that. We fighting, but we ain't fighting like that. We're going to do it with the law. We're going to fight with the law. That's how we fight with the law. We don't got to go out there scream and holler and act crazy and throw ice water bottles and kick ICE agent vehicles and block traffic and make a lot of unnecessary noise. No, we don't do that. We've been through all of that nonsense. We didn't even do it like that when we did it in the 60s and our ancestors did it in the 60s. They were just out there protesting. And they still got dogs, water hose. We don't forget our past. We don't forget where we came from. And we're not going to sit up here and lose it over nonsense. Where God has brought us from. God said, don't be ignorant. Don't be stupid. You could care about people and warn, give them the warning before they go out there. That's a way of showing that you care. Telling them it's dangerous. Don't do that. These people are going to harm you. These people are going to hurt you. That's a way of showing love. That's also trying to show people love. Love ain't always going out there and giving and being a part of foolishness. That's not love. And you know the person gonna get harmed. You just saw the woman got shot down 2 weeks ago. Then you gonna go out there and do this dumb, same old dumb ass shit. And that's honoring her death. You instead of going to do a ritual and teach people how to go to do other things in a different way so nobody won't get harmed, but you're gonna go out there and repeat the same old nonsense and get your life taken. Okay? That's all I'm saying. And black Americans, we not doing it. We are smarter. Over the years, 250 years, we better be smarter. We was here way before 250 years of the shit that we took. We not going out there, and God ain't mad at us. And God is protecting us. And sometimes it's not even our own doing, it's God's doing, like saying, no, wait, hold on. Hold up. Wait a minute. He said, be slow to answer. You have to watch things closely and be careful about the voices that you are listening to. I don't listen to Roland Martin. He's never had black people in his best interest. I don't care what nobody say. I don't think he ever cared about black people. He just likes to get things riled up. He's a good authorical speaker. Him and a whole lot of other ones that hold these platforms that sit around and they don't have black America in their best interest. They only care about they self getting in a position of power and just sitting up there just talking shit. Okay? Talk is cheap. His fat ass ain't out there in that damn protest, is he? But he's sitting up there talking about how wrong ICE agents was and how America doing this and how America doing that. But your fat ass ain't out there being a body shield, are you? Since you feel so much for Renee Good and Alex Petty, why your fat ass ain't out there in the streets protesting? Why isn't Wall's bald headed ass ain't out there in the street protesting? Why isn't Jacob Frey out there in the street protesting? And one thing about Martin Luther King, when he had his people out there, he was in the front line with them. That's what made him so good. He didn't just put his people out there, he went out there with the people. He went to jail with the people. He got knocked upside the head with the people. He got everything done to him that you can possibly believe. Got stabbed in the whole nine with the people. Okay, you don't see Martin. You don't see Martin, fat behind, out there in that front line with those protesters. You don't see Jacob Frey out there. You don't even see Governor Walz out there. But they telling them to do it. And these stupid ass people gonna go ahead and do it. Are these people really worth you dying for? They not out there to walk out there in the street with the ICE agents and protest. No, they not out there with you. Most of the leaders in the 60s during the civil rights movement, they was out there with their people. They wasn't just sitting around telling the people to go out there and protest and put their bodies out there. No, they was out there. Huey P. Newton was out there. Malcolm was out there. Martin was out. Maybe they didn't march, but they was out there. Whenever they had their people out there, they was out there with them. Point blank, period. You think I'm going to sit out there and put my body, if I lived in Minnesota, you think a governor like Walz and a mayor like Frey, I will put my life out there and risk it to be out there in a protest while they sitting home in the comfort of their loved ones in their beautiful homes with their security around them, and your dumb ass out there getting shot down. You gotta be kidding me. Because you don't like President Trump. And the man been president for what? A year and maybe a few months now. And before he even got into that seat, they was already coming for him. You know, the pressure, the nonsense, because people can't even see if he's real or not real because of the nonsense they keep bringing around. They ain't even allowed the man to get in the seat to get warm yet. And they started with they protests, no king marches and stuff, playing around with the Lord's name. Playing with God's name. God ain't got nothing to do with none of this foolishness. These people want to go out there. That's Satan's people. That's who Satan does. That's what Satan does to you. God would never tell you to go out there and put your life in no crossfire when especially they not even bothering you. It has nothing to do with you, but you putting yourself in the way. Okay? That ain't got nothing to do with God. You want to be nice, you want to help somebody, do what I do. Just tell them don't go out there. Be safe. Stay safe at home with your children or just try to live to see another day on this earth. Don't go out there. Black people are fighting. Black Americans are fighting. We are protesting, but we're not doing it in the way you want to see us do it. So you can have a reason to kill us and unalive us in the street. We do it with our voices. We let our voices be heard. We sit on platforms. We talk about the issues that are going on in our society. We have that conversation so people can get it out and they can talk and they can share their views or whatever, their opinion. You don't have to go out in the street and hurt yourself, get hurt. Somebody is listening. That's why we have social media, for those reasons, to fight. You could go over the law with some people. People don't know the law. You can learn about the law. So you don't have to put yourself in harm's way. Don't do nothing without really thinking. Don't act out on emotions. God wants us to control our emotions and strongly hold on to his way of how to do things. But since y'all want to do it the way you want to do it, then that's how you going to get all jacked up. Because without doing it with the Lord say do it, you're going to find yourself in a place of point of no return. Can't be God's doing. God knows how the human mind is. He knows who we are. And he knows how much a person going to take before they snap. So you're not supernatural. That's why it's important that you know about God first before you try to do anything on your own. You're not supernatural. You're going to snap. You're going to break down. You're going to do something that is going to cost you your life. So if you're out there in that kind of environment, those are the things that can go wrong. But I value mines. During this time, this is the time you should be taking a good look at your leaders, your governor, your mayor, your police department, whatever it is going on in your city or your state. Those are the people you need to be paying attention to right now, how they handling things that are going on with this enforcement of the law of immigration. That's the things, those are the people you need to be looking at. What are they doing? Besides trying to impeach President Trump and impeach Christy Nome and doing stupid stuff like that. What are you doing to try to help for things like this don't continue to happen in Minnesota with protests? Why don't you just like, what they said is like, hey, they just want to turn down the heat, but they telling you one thing but doing another while you getting unalived in the street. Those are the people you need to be looking at. Because they getting paid to make sure you be safe. And wherever you live at, that safety things are in place. Safety is in place. And if they not doing that for you, then they ain't the people you should be voting for. Or people you should, those are the people you should be having removed out of those seats. That's how Black America fight. We vote. Because we exercise what we all, what our ancestors had to go through for us to get that, to be able to vote. We value our education for what our ancestors did for us to get an education. When it was time when they wasn't able, when they wasn't even allowed to read. Now that education is out there for you to read, you don't want to read. And that's the reason why some of these fools are in the conditions that they in, because they don't read. And the Lord said, fools perish because of lack of knowledge. When you don't have no knowledge of anything, you will fall into a foolish trap. You read. And not only do you read, you watch as well. What you are seeing, how your leaders are moving. Don't just get out there and just say because you like a person. I could like you, but if you say it's something that I just don't agree with, I'm gonna tell you straight up, I don't agree with that. I love my family. I love everybody in my family. But if they move in messy, I'm gonna let them know before anything happens to them. At least I can say I warned them. I gave you the warning to not to go there. But since that's the choice you made, that's how you wanted to go out. And there are family members I have warned. And they chose to just override me. And it came and bit them right in their behind. Don't be so quick to jump into something without really finding out what it's really all about. And that's a lot of times what people do. And especially some of us, we get stuck on that blackness. I love my black. Of course, I love my black. I got to live with it every day. But there are some things I'm not going to do to dishonor my black. I want to hold it up in a good light, not negative. Because one thing about us, the stuff we've been through and survived, and we're still here, is what we did as far as excellence. These people got to go learn how to fight and stay in their own country. They have to learn how to be in their own country and to help make the changes there and not come to America and try to change us. Because we got our own problems. And we're not trying to go back to the 60s or the 40s or any of those times when it was really hard for black people. Now that we've been blessed to be having the opportunity to have our freedom and the right to vote and also be treated as a citizen of the United States of America, a citizen, and you think I'm going to throw it away for some immigrant? You've been blessed to have all of that, to be a part of the United States of America as a citizen. Just get out of our way and just let us do it. Raise their families right. Raise your kids. Stop trying to give the world view of how you should raise your children. You should know what's going on in your household, and you should know what your child needs are, and you should be able to help them. Not everybody should be a part of your family crisis or your family, you know, teamwork or whatever. It says in the Word of God, it teaches you how to train up a child. But you rather go out there and listen to how the world tell you how to raise your sons and your daughters. There's just certain people that will not take a place and role model if I was a parent of my child. Now, this thing about this character, Don Lennon, who went inside of a church as a journalist, joined a time when they were raiding a church, harassing people that were there in prayer. And then on top of that, the pastor, whoever that was there, was an ICE agent, a person who worked for ICE, but he was on Sunday worship doing a Sunday service. And these people came in and disrupted the place. People had children there that were traumatized. In a place of worship, when did we start going into church? Even though it has happened to black people, they burnt out churches, the KKK, they burnt down our churches, they went in our churches, they killed people, they killed pastors, they hung children. Go look at the story of Rosewood, of all the horror. But that didn't stop us from still believing and trusting and walking in our light with God. That was on them. That just showed who they were. Their wicked hearts. It didn't stop us from loving the Lord. And those who died in it, we didn't forget them either. We still hold them in our hearts for their courageous fight. And those innocent lives that was even lost in this in during that time. The poor little girls that were killed in that church. Baptist church, 16th Street or something, Baptist church. The way they blew them kids up in that doggone building. Knowing that it was going to be some young people in that building. Knowing that it was in a church. But that's evil, wicked, whoever they were, put bombs in the church and blew up the church. And those four little girls died that Easter Sunday morning while they were in the basement getting ready for Sunday school or Sunday program for that Easter. On a Easter Sunday, they decide to blow up a doggone church with some young kids in it. Black America, we can't forget that in our history. And that's why Don Lennon, that's why Black America, especially Black America, is like, no, we don't play with, when it comes to the church, the house of God, a sacred place where people go to pray, people go to mourn, people go there for their peace, their time to talk to the Lord, and you go in there and do something destructive. You could at least stood outside and say, look, y'all, don't go inside the building. It is a church. Let them come out, and then we could probably talk to them when they leave the building, but don't talk to them while they in the building. You know? Let's attack when they come out. But they went inside the house of God to disrupt people while they were in service. And John Lennon, he don't care nothing about no God anyway. Look at the lifestyle. That's what this fight is about. It's an offense to his lifestyle. So that's the reason why he jumped into the fight. And that's not our fight. We ain't fighting for no lifestyle that is contrary to God. Is in the Bible. It's contrary to God. So why would I put my life out there for a man who wants to live his life in a rebellious way towards God? Yeah, he deserved to be where he's at. He was deserved to be arrested. Black ain't got nothing to do with it. So don't even try to use the black card, okay? You ain't even with a black man. You with a white man. So that just tells you how much black he is, right? So, just take a look at these people. Are they worth it? They don't care about you. They only care about what their feelings are right now, how they feel. You don't have to listen to President Trump. You don't got to watch nothing about President Trump. You could just stay off your TV for the rest of the time he's on in this term, just so that you don't have to hear his voice or hear nothing about President Trump. You could get your healing from TDS, the Trump deranged syndrome that you have. I don't listen to everything Trump says. I don't listen to everything that they talk about around Trump. I don't. Only things I'm concerned about is my safety. I'm concerned about a lot of other things that he hasn't really been affecting. He hasn't. If anything, he's been making it a better way for me to make things happen for myself. But I don't listen to everything. I don't agree with everything he says, and I don't agree with everything he does. The way he does it. But that's him. He's the president. He's the president of the United States, and if anything happened, he's gonna have to take the fall for it. There's some do's and no don't do's, and America needs to get back to that. There was a time we could not speak so openly and so blatant and so disrespectful about our president of the United States. There was a time that people actually had to have some level of respect. They just like totally didn't they could just do what they want and don't have to listen. They started from the time the man got in the seat. I'm telling you, they did it. I don't know about his first term because I didn't pay too much attention. Like I said, when he first served the first term, I didn't pay too much attention to it. I didn't vote for him. I don't remember who I voted for. But I just know that during that time, I didn't really care. I didn't really pay any attention. Whoever was the president was the president. That's the way I felt. And I still try to follow the laws. I never went out there to try to disrespect any of the leaders. Not even Obama. Even when Obama became president, I respect his position as our president of the United States. I barely said anything bad about Obama. I didn't tell people we should impeach him after he don't tricked a lot of American people into this same-sex marriage stuff, and we weren't expecting that because a lot of us never heard him speak on anything about same-sex marriages during his time of debate. He did not talk on those issues. I know he spoke on things that was right for women, but he didn't speak so much on anything of same-sex marriages. All we know is that he served that second term, and all of a sudden that became some kind of law that he implemented called like people of the same sex can't get married. And that's when Black America was like, "What? Obama? What? You know, a lot of young black people, males in my family, was like, "Oh, that motherfucker crazy." They was saying all kind of stuff when he said, you know, a lot of black men didn't feel too comfortable with that. That's why a lot of them got off the Democrat Party because it was making them too feminine and making them accept things that they just couldn't accept of their nature. So they just jumped off to that thing because we do need to bring back some masculine energy. Because everybody that looked like on that Democrat Party is too feminine. A bunch of crying men. They want women to always be in the front line of a fight. They always want to put women out there to fight. They don't never want to be the men out there. The men want to be the ones in the background while the women are out there taking the front line of the fight. Look what's going on out there in Minnesota. Nothing but a bunch of women. Something is wrong with that. You see more women out there doing the craziest, stupidest thing than you see any men. And the men that you do see, they very feminine. They're very feminine men. They're not men like the men that stood in the civil rights fight. It was men in the front of the fight. It wasn't no women in the front. It was mostly men. Whether they were gay men, straight men, whatever man, they were all men standing in the front. Wasn't no women. That just shows you what happened to the Democrat Party. All those women. Even in the black church. That's why I only come during the season time, Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. And I got to the point now that I don't even show up on Mother's Day because I see so many reckless mothers that come to church on Sunday for that day, but all throughout the rest of the time they haven't been acting like mothers, but they receiving some rewards. It's not good when you got a church of a single mother in the church with four different kids from different baby daddies. That's not good. And you giving her rewards for that type of behavior and praising that type. Now, one child, you could say the whole family come together to christen that child and everything to make sure that child be surrounded by the love of the church and the love of that family and everything. That's one thing. If a young girl get herself in trouble and things like that do happen, we all know we have to learn from our mistakes, right? But when we come back to church with three and four different babies from different men, that's not a mistake anymore. You just being ignorant and stupid. And you're not even thinking about the life of those children because you are in no position to take care of yourself. How you going to be able to take care of these three children without bringing harm to their lives? How you going to be able to house them, feed them, educate them, clothe them, do everything you need for them without your life being interrupted and nobody's there to help you? But you only have to depend on government assistance to get you and your family through. They don't educate these young girls about not getting themselves in trouble, picking these wrong, terrible, terrible boyfriends. He's out in the street. He got no job. He ain't got no education. Why are you laying up trying to make this man the father of your child? Why are you even putting yourself in that position to be harmed like that? I just seen a young girl, the story of this young girl. It's been, it happened last year, right before her 18th birthday. She didn't even make it to her 18th birthday. And it happened to quite a few young girls. Stories on crimes against homicide against women, femicide or whatever. And the young lady name, I know everybody must be know the story about London. London was a 17-year-old young girl. Somehow London ended up going to see a boyfriend that her family forbid her to see. Nobody was an approval of this relationship that she was involved in with this 23-year-old who really basically living with his mother. And he didn't have any much of anything going for himself in his life. He wasn't an educated person. He wasn't doing much with himself. She was doing great things, promising things for her future. And she got involved with this 23-year-old. All of a sudden, her sister, somebody took her to his house that evening. This is how the story went now. And that was the last place time that she was seen or heard from. from a family member. Next thing you know, the mother of her boyfriend and the boyfriend called the friend to help them move a barrel that was heavy to some kind of van or truck or whatever it was. But the person said, claimed they never asked what was in it. So to her death, it was a mystery because people are talking and saying, yeah, they helped with a barrel and they didn't ask what was in it or didn't even look to see what was in it. Because I know somebody asking me to move something and it's heavy and I'm like, what's in there? I want to see what's in there. What you got in there? Let's see if we can take some of that stuff out. That's what I would be doing. Okay? Just to know what was in there so I don't be part of no crime scene. Just in case. You got to be careful. But anyway, the young lady ended up being unalived by the boyfriend, and the mother's supposed to have helped cover it up. They got him in custody now. But as I'm listening to it, I said, wait a minute. You mean to tell me the sister, somebody drops this young lady off somewhere in the middle of the night and didn't go with her? Because I know at that time of the night, somebody asking me to go somewhere with them, to go see about somebody or whatever. Trust and believe me, I'm not leaving that scene until you get back in the car with me. I'm going to say, why we got to go tonight? Why don't we call the police to escort us just in case anything pop off? Because he might get a little da-da-da-da. If you got to go get something from over there, then maybe we need to call the police so that you could get there, get what you need to get, and we could get out safely. That's what I would have been thinking, especially at a young girl that age, at 17 years old. There's no way I would have gave her a ride to any man's house in the evening time or whatever. And think that would be okay. No, that's not okay. I would have asked this minor a lot of questions, and we would have done it like, hey, we're going to get a police officer to go with us to meet us there because you got to pick up some things. You need an escort. You don't want, just in case he might get violent with you or do anything to harm us or whatever, we have some protection around us. You just don't go somewhere without even taking safety precaution. I know a lot of black people don't like to trust police officers because of some of the horrible stories and things that has happened in police brutality. But I'm gonna tell you like this: when your heart is right and your mind is right, you ain't got to worry about that. As long as you know you're doing it in the right way, you're using it in the right way. I believe that police officers would have been able to come and gave you some safety. That's what they're there for. You would have made a police report and say, look, I have a boyfriend that I was seeing. I had left some things over there. I just need somebody to come and be there in my, to escort, to make sure that if anything happens or whatever, because I'm afraid if he might get dangerous or something dangerous might happen, I just want to get what I need to get and get out. And I want it safely done. And I don't want nobody harmed. I just want to make sure that I have some kind of, protection around me. You just don't. All the time you hear stories about these young women being unalived by their boyfriends or some boyfriend being unalived by some girlfriend. People have gotten that far away from the word of God. People have became very, you know, cold and calculate in their way of thinking. People have got to the point now where they don't even fear death anymore. And when they get like that, the world is starting to get very, very dark. But there's still light in the world as long as you hold on to the word of Jesus Christ. There's light for you. There's life for you. But some people rather do it the way they want to do it. And they're not thinking about their life. Every day we have to walk in some type of danger. So that's why we have to pray to make sure God keep us covered. Because that young lady could have been alive today if somebody, an adult or whoever took her to that young man's house that time of the evening, and her grandmother and her mother's on there crying and her father's crying, you know, everybody, all those adults. She's only 17. She was seeing somebody that y'all forbid. And if somebody was telling, she asked to give a ride to go sneak and see this guy, that person should have made sure that they should have waited around safe to make sure she was safe, or at least called the police. Or called her on the phone and say, you all right in there? At least give us some kind of thing that I'm out here waiting for you and I just want to make sure you okay. You need me to go call the police or whatever. Do something. If you was the last person that saw her and you dropped her off at this person's house, then that makes you accessory to the crime as well because you took her there and left her there. And knowing that she was not supposed to be in that and seeing that young man in the first place. She was not supposed to have been around that young man because her family forbidded her not to be in that relationship. He was 6 years older than her. She was barely out of high school. She was just going to be turning 18 years old. She was still under the guardianship of her parents. She wasn't like living out on her own. She was still under the guardianship of her parents. So she needed somebody to make sure she was in that house safely and at least called her on the phone. And if they didn't get back from her, they should have called the police right then and there. Not just leave her there and then just say she gone missing when you dropped her off somewhere. Ain't no way in the world I'll let a 17-year-old pick up a 17-year-old or do any commit any crime with that 17-year-old. My nieces and nephews don't even come around me because I'm so strict. But they appreciate it. But they don't come and tell me they appreciate it because they still here, right? Because I get all in their business. I ask all kind of questions to make them uncomfortable to answer. Especially when they running out there with people that can be dangerous. I just got to make sure they safe. That's all. In these times, it ain't like it used to be. People could see all kind of things about you and follow you in places that you wouldn't even believe they know you be at. So I just say this to any mother out there with young daughters or any young people in their family, like the young boy who got shot up and killed in some woman's house that he was spending the night at. It's another story. And the husband, the ex-husband or whatever, came to the house while she was there with in her new relationship or whatever and killed that young man and took her out. This woman, a 16-year-old boy, and the mother's crying, oh, my son was spending the night over there and he was a good kid and nobody's talking about my son, but they all talk about, because mom, your son should have been home with you. Can't even allow your children to spend and stay at people's house anymore because it's so dangerous. There's somebody coming in and they come in somebody's house and kill everybody in the household, and then your child got killed right there being in that house when that child should have been home with you. My mother used to be like, hell to the no. Can I spend the night at so? Nope, you ain't spending the night over there. Nope, none of that. Only way I got to spend the night at somebody's house if we was out there as a family. We went to visit family. It wasn't no sleeping at spending the night at people's house. It was always now, kids have their little birthday parties, little slumber birthday parties and stuff like that. You could pray about that and be okay with that if you know the parents really well and you know that they don't live no shady life and they don't got people in their household that are shady, then you might can do that. But you got to check out the family first. You got to check out what kind of lifestyle these people are living and how long you known them and what do you know about them before you be letting your kids go staying in their house. Well, anyway, we were told when we were small anyway, my mother didn't like us hanging out in people's house. You stay, don't go to nobody's house. You stay in front of the house or whatever like that. You go somewhere, you let me know or whatever. Off the block. But today, these parents just let their kids just run with anybody. They don't question nothing. But when we were growing up, things were questioned. And certain children we weren't allowed to be around. Especially if we knew that their household had a lot of stuff going on. So it is what it is. You gotta look out for those things in our world we live in. Especially when you're raising a family, you got children in the world and everything. It's a beautiful thing, but you also gotta be very, very careful with it. Whatever God blesses you with something, you gotta make sure you care for it in every best way that you can, especially the life of your children. That's so important, to be blessed to have your children and to make sure you take care of them and do the best you can raising them up to be good citizens in the world, and for them to live here and survive for a long time period of time. You don't want your kids just to be getting snuffed out of here for nothing. You got to make sure you educate your children, not only just from the school, but you also be a part of it too. You know, you be a part of your children's educational growth, and you be a part of your children's day of living, every day of living, checking on your children, making sure they safe, they okay, and calling them you know, and even if you take them somewhere, check on them as well, and always make sure you check out the people they hang around. Back in the days, you know, parents had a lot more control because we didn't have the nonsense we got streaming live and internet and everything in this time we were growing up, and we didn't have cell phones. You had the pay phone, and you also had the neighbor's phone number or whatever. If anything happened, things like that nature would happen. You know, you would have your neighbor's number, you would have somebody's phone number that to go check on your house to make sure your kids was okay, or leave a message if your phone was off. You had those kind of things that you had in place, making sure your kids was okay when they left. I had an aunt that actually, when she went to work, she had one of those keys that she could lock you in, and she only the key, you can use the key on the outside, but the key was used on the inside, but it was dangerous, you know, to lock your kids up in the house while you go to work. That was a dangerous thing to do. But they figured out a way how they were able to use the spare key. They had a spare key in the house. You know, the neighbor, I'm sorry, not in the house, the neighbor had a spare key to that lock, that top lock to the house, to make sure that they were able to, if anything happened, they could use that key to get out. But it's dangerous to lock your kids in the house. You know, in case of fire or something like that breaks out, you got to be able to have an exit to get out. But she used to do it. She used to lock their ass up in there. Y'all can't get out. Okay. Y'all cannot get out while I go to work. Until I come home from work, y'all can get out the house. But then she had the spare key next door to a neighbor in case anything happened, that the kids, if an emergency or whatever like that, she'll have that spare key. But still, in all, that's a dangerous thing to do. You don't want to lock your kids in the house. That's not safety. That's crazy. Oh yeah, they used to lock the door. Lock the door. She used to lock that top lock whenever the kids was home. But they were teenagers. Mostly all teenagers. Like, you know, 12, 13, 14, whatever years old. But still, that's not a safe thing to do. But anyway, like I said, you know, you can't remove the foundation and expect the house to stand. You know, the black Americans, we know better. We don't need to be out there doing nothing stupid, protesting, throwing ice water bottles at ICE agents, kicking out tail lights in the ICE agent cars, or blocking, impeding, or any of that kind of stuff, because that's being unlawful. And it's being a reason to give ICE agents the justice to harm you. And what I've seen from a lot of these ICE agents, I think they have been very, very lenient and very patient with a lot of these protesters. Because when I look at what was going on in California, when everything was unrest out there, things that was taking place in Portland, um, Seattle, and places all over where people were just outrageous. People were just out of control, blocking the ICE agent gate, breaking the gates, spray painting, vandalism, making life threats to ICE agents and doxing ICE agents, and doing everything that they possibly can to destruct these ICE agents, to get them to the point where they break and they just want to leave, or maybe do something that can cost them their job. That's what they look for. But it didn't work because it backfired. Because ain't nobody going to get justice for the life of Renee and Alex Preddy. They're going to look at these two people as fools that gave their life for foolishness. It's not going to go down as a good name, even though they probably done some good things in their life while they were here. But in the end, they made some stupid choices. They did not make the right choice. What they was doing around protesting, some people even try to make it up. Oh, Renee was, she was in there. We saw the video how she stood in the middle of the road in the car. And it was quite some time. And then when her girl was coming out, she was up there harassing the police officers. Boy, you're gonna go get yourself some lunch because we're gonna be out here again today. We're gonna still be out here. You're gonna see the same license plate. Take a look at that. And then when the officer told Renee to get out the car and came to the car, she goes, "Drive, baby, drive." Okay, okay. So she goes, "Drive, baby, drive." Instead of just saying, "Just get out, hold up, baby, don't get out the car, sit right there, or let's just sit right here in the car, or whatever, or just get out the car. Let them arrest you. We're gonna get out. We're gonna come back." You know what I'm saying? Like, not drive, baby, drive. But my most focus is on Black America because I care about you, because I care about me. And whatever happens to you also concerns me. So I try to tell my Black American family out there, my Black American people out there, don't be stupid. Don't do nothing ignorant. Listen to the voices. Most important, listen to whoever the voice is telling you and watch what they do. Okay, not only just listen, but not from what they say, but what they do. Like I said, you didn't see Tim Walz out there in the front line. You didn't see Jacob Frey out there in the front line at none of the sites of these protesters, or saying anything to keep the crowd peaceful. Like I said, if you go back and look at the footage of the 60s, Martin Luther King was out there with his people, Malcolm X was out there with his people, and even the Black Panthers was out there with their people. Whenever they had to protest, it was some Black Panthers, the chairman, the minister, or whoever that was out there with the people. If Huey wasn't there or he had to be at another site somewhere else, his people were out there. Power to the people. Okay? His people were out there and his people still carried on even while he was incarcerated. His people still was out there. More power to the people to keep the fight going. To keep the fight going. Malcolm people were out there doing the newspapers, giving the people the awareness, and doing whatever they had to do to come to out to listen to some of the speeches, to come listen to some of the services or whatever they had at the mosque, at the Audubon, wherever he spoke at. He brought in the crowd of people to listen to him speak on the concerns of social ills that was happening to Black America, to society, and how Black people were being harmed and hurt. Martin didn't just sit around talking and preaching sermons. He act. He had done some action. Okay, boots on the ground, out there in the street. Like I said, bust upside the head with a billy club, hit, beaten, bitten by dogs, dragged, kicked, punched, stabbed. All that stuff happened to the civil rights leaders back then. But none of that such a stuff happening to none of these so-called Governor Walls and Mayor Fry. Neither one of them out there getting themselves in harm's way, but they got a lot to say in giving you orders of putting your bodies out there as shields. And that other lady, Penny Flanagan, or whatever her name is, she ain't out there either. Where's her hijab and out there protesting and whatever? They sitting home. They got their nice fireplace probably going on because it's cold right now. So the fireplace is going, the smoke from the chimney. They sitting there warm with their cats or their dogs, their pets, and their children or their family, sitting there enjoying themselves, roasting some marshmallows in this fireplace, enjoying themselves a nice bottle of wine, maybe even sitting back in a chair, reading a recliner, reading a nice novel, a nice story, probably reading some story about Malcolm X or Martin Luther King or even Huey P. Newton's book. They probably sitting down listening to all the greats, the best that lived, the civil rights fighters and all that other stuff, and they just sitting back while you fools are getting shot down like dogs in the street. Oh yeah, they having a good old time. And they get out in front of the public and they get on the cameras and they give all they do their optics and they photo ops and talk they politics and all that other stuff, and then bring Trump name up in it to get people real riled up and get people's attention that, oh yeah, Trump is doing a bad job. Long as you mention Trump is doing something wrong, everybody, because he's not the most liked man in America by a lot of white people and black people. That equal amount of them are in it. The black ones who mad because they feel he's threatening their careers, as politicians or whatever they in that they're not doing a good job at, and they need to be removed. They DEI. Now I ain't gonna say all of them. Now some of them really deserve to be where they at. And then there's the ones who messy that don't deserve to be where they at, and they only just sitting there just so as a body, just so that they can look good, but they not doing nothing. They wasn't attacking until Trump came into that seat. What was the stuff? What happened to reparations before Trump got there? What happened? What happened to y'all speaking up for black people and all the harm done to us throughout decades? Okay, black people built Wall Street. Black people had built this economy. Black people done a lot of things in this economy. Every time they built something down, the KKK or whatever came and they came and burned it down and destroyed it. Every time we built something, they came to destroy it. So when I see those black conservatives sitting on their platform, you need to do some more history. That black people always just chose welfare and this, that, and no, they did not. Some of them did need it. A lot of us did need it, but it was a lot of us that just wanted to just build and make our lives great in America, who did try to raise the best kind of children in the society that we live in, who did educate their children, who did work hard and did everything that basically they needed to do and try to do it the right way, did it the right way. Some of them even took care of your children while they had to neglect their own kids. They had jobs as, you know, servants. They had to be away from their home for hours during the day, away from their home life and raising their kids, and their kids had to raise up themselves while they had to raise your children. Sickening. And so these black conservatives that's sitting on their platforms talking the nonsense that they talk. They just talking a bunch of rhetoric. They just talking shit they don't even know that stink. Just messy. Just to talk, just to be talking. Nothing they saying is nothing to. They always making the black person sound like we always complaining and we always crying that we victims. We have been victims, but we ain't running around saying we victims. You saying we victims, but we speaking our true story of the things that happened to black America. And yes, some people still traumatized by it. A lot of trauma. Fred Hampton, his baby mother had to lay in the bed while she see her father of her child gunned down in front of her in the bedroom. These people came into the house and shot that man, Fred Hammond, a 21 years old young man. They killed him in his bed while he was sleeping. Shot him twice in the head and shot him in I don't know how many bullets. They got the documentary out there. All the stuff black people had to live through. And that poor baby didn't even get a chance to be raised by his father. And only God knows the trauma that woman had to grow up and how she had to tell the story to her son, how he doesn't have his father here today with him. But you black conservatives, you can sit on your platform and you can sit there and say all these horrible things about what Martin Luther King was. Blah, blah, blah. You don't value black American lives, do you? For you to sit down and say the sick things that come out of stupid things that come out of your mouth just so that you could be in your white comfort. You just say anything without thinking of what black America went through in those times. And some people just had no other choice but to get out there and do what they had to do and die for you to be free. And that's why I can't listen to a lot of these conversations when it comes to talking about these civil rights leaders, the ones who have been slain. I cannot listen to it from everybody. There's just some people that just ignorant and stupid, and they just want to sit there just to talk just like that dumb ass black man, whatever his, I don't even go to his channel at all. The one always putting on his Steven character. What's his name? He sits on with Nick Fuentes and them. They be going at it all the time. I don't even know his name. That's how come. That's how important he is to me. I don't even watch his channel. He spoke on something about Martin Luther King on that day, and I just was like, I'm not going to listen to it because I know this fool going to make me just pop off. Okay? It's just some people like that that just will make you go there. They will make you do the most evilest things that will come out of your heart because of the way they say certain things. So I just stay away from their mouth because I don't want to go there. I don't want them to bring me to their hell. I listen to Abel Chapman, but when it comes to speaking on Martin Luther King and on black leadership and on anything for black progress or anything better for the betterment of black American people, she's always tearing people down. She always just find the weakest thing about them to destroy their character, to dismantle them, to just do stuff that is just, to me, is like, what is wrong with her? You sit up here showing yourself a Christian woman, then you raising a family with black sons, and this is the way you speak on black lives. So basically, you don't care about your own life, and you don't even care about your children future of what they're going to have to deal with the reality of racism in America. If they're going to be in America and they born here in America and they trying to strive to get to the best places in America for the look good in a place in America for their people, it's going to be hard for your kids because you spoke that shit into their life. Everything you sat down and discredited and discarded and destroyed about a black man or woman that's sitting in power right now, every evil spoken word came out of your mouth is going to go on you. It's going to go on your children. That's why I say you got to be very careful because you pick a certain party, because it's not about party. There's a certain thing that you are born with for life. That's your identity. Or for better or for worse, when your people are out there suffering, you are supposed to not take sides with the enemy. You're supposed to find a way to talk around it, but in a good way, in peace. But not in an evil way, not when you dismantle your own people and just accuse them of all of this other negative stuff, saying that we don't want betterment ever since Dr. Just negative, stupid shit. Because you didn't live through that time. You was protected. You didn't come in the world until all the stuff damage was done. And these are the people who made the way for you. And you're going to sit around and talk evil and bad things about them and let this lie that the white man put on their story be the truth? You can't see nothing behind this where white people hands was the ones who built the system the way it has. And black people had to fight to break it in, to correct it. If it wasn't for Martin Luther King to come through and correct it, some of these black foreigners wouldn't even had an opportunity to become to the United States of America. But you letting them in so they could take your jobs and run you out of your apartments and your home and your communities and your neighborhoods and all that other stuff. I'm not putting myself out there for that because I want to stay here and I want to be here and I want to be a black American and I'm going to stand to be a black American and I'm going to be an American first anyway. Okay, and they ain't letting no invader, no trespassing, no immigrant that's could go back to their own country because that's where they need to go, to their own country and try to fix the problems over there instead of coming over here and bringing their problems to us to fix for them so they could stay in America. That ain't gonna happen in America, not with me. Now, if you want to go ahead and do it, then you go ahead and do it. But me, I'm staying in my own homeland and I'm going to continue to protect and be here in the place where God planted me, okay, to be. I'm not going over to no foreign country to start a life over there. No way, no how, because I can't do it anyway because I'm too old for that to start all over again. I'm just going to keep going, okay? Just going to keep going. Now, you want to go to a foreign, you want to go fight for a foreigner to stay here in the United States of America, like I said, take your job, the housing that might belong to you, okay? And get all the political power that they can get protection when you can't get no protection, okay? What about putting in place protection for black lives? Nobody put in protection for black lives, but they sure put in protection for LGBTQ people. They put in protection for foreigners and everything else, but nobody put in protection for black lives. You ever thought about that? Why you black people want to get yourself in a fight? They ain't got nothing to do with you. You rather die for these foreigners. Ain't none of them dying for you. None of them. They don't want to go back to their own country and fix the craziness going on over there. Probably ain't no different from what we got going over here anyway. They just don't want to put in the work. They just want to live off of somebody else's work. Freeloaders. Oh, they could go back to Haiti and fix Haiti. They did it before. They could do it again. Run those people out of their country. Fight. Stand up. You learned all you can here in America, so you could take that with you to Haiti and wherever else your TPS status has been canceled. Okay? You could go back to your country and work on the problems there. Same thing with Ilhan Omar. She shouldn't have never been sitting in that seat in the first place. It should have been given to an American citizen. Point blank, period. Somebody who had grassroots in America to really help the American people. And especially the working and the poor. The working poor and the working the working poor and the poor, the disenfranchised or whatever. That seat should have been given to an American. All those seats that's sitting over there in Congress on the Democrat side, those seats should have been given to an American citizen. Point blank, period. You overlooked Americans and you gave the seats to foreigners. So who you think they're going to be looking out for? They sure enough ain't going to be looking out for an American. They're going to look out for more foreigners like themselves to come into the United States of America and take over. Once they get themselves in a seat in our government, they could come and do what the hell they want, bringing their people in and bringing them in here, taking jobs, housing, and whatever else, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever they can come to drain us out of our resources with. No foreigner should be making any decisions concerning on American citizens' lives. I'm sorry. I didn't vote for none of them, so I'm going to speak on it. I don't care who don't like it. I didn't vote for none of those foreigners that could barely string a sentence together to come and try to come and be my leader. Ilhan Omar, she couldn't even fix the problems in her own country, and she's going to come here and try to fix us. She need to go figure out her own constitution. That's what President Trump said, and I'm right with him with that one. That woman shouldn't even be in that Congress seat, wearing that turban on her head or whatever. Nobody wears a head wrap in Congress. Only thing you're supposed to be wearing is your regular hair or put a wig on if you got some kind of health condition going on. But when you go sit in Congress, we are not representing the United Nations. You are representing the people of the United States of America, and you're supposed to look the part. That's it. With that being said, I love you. God bless you. You all have a wonderful and safe Monday. And if God's willing, I may or may not come back with you again. So be safe. Peace.